Oscars has egg on its face because their chosen trans celebrity that they've been pumping up has basically turned out to be extremely based, and people aren't liking her anymore. So for those of you out there who've been living under a rock, there's this movie called Emilia Perez, and it's about a drug kingpin cartel leader who goes through gender transitioning surgery to become a woman in order to get out of the drug life and basically not be assassinated. And it got what was it, 13 Oscar nominations?
13, which is the most for any foreign language film, and is just like one or two away from the most ever.
Greatest musical ever. Greatest musical ever.
Emilia Perez is categorized as a crime comedy foreign language musical. That is what it is categorized.
It's a French movie about a Colombian drug lord who turned into a woman to go into hiding, basically. Yes.
Yeah, and the lead titular line, Emilia Perez, is played by an actual trans actress named Karla Sofía Gascón. And this is someone who's had the surgery. They've had the twigs and berries chopped off. They've gone through like everything to basically become a woman. And this is also an actor who was recently in this movie called The Conclave.
Cutting your dick off does not make you a woman.
Also, but, allegedly, we have to take his word for it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So anyway, Karla Sofía Gascón got nominated as Best Actress for this year's Oscars. And so basically you have a biological man who is now competing with biological women for the movie industry's highest honors. And there was you could tell that there was a press pool lined up to support this actress and like everything she stands for and all this stuff. But then something funny kind of happened. And it was that there was a journalist who uncovered past tweets that has painted this trans actress as Islamophobic, racist, and just a variety of nasty things that Hollywood left does not like. And it seems like almost like a targeted character assassination bit. But it's funny because basically this actress, she lives in Spain, and she's constantly running into examples of Muslim immigrants who, make women hide their faces and just aren't big on women's rights. And so she tweeted a lot about the outrage of seeing these Muslim immigrants. She also is big on like the George Floyd thing, where she tweeted a lot about that and how it was an injustice, not the way that liberals like to categorize it. But it's very interesting that basically she's had to delete every single tweet that she's ever made because she's pretty based. Like she doesn't, kind of like conform to like leftist liberal policies. And because of this, people are worried that it's putting the awards potential for Emilia Perez in danger because there might be some backlash amongst the liberal elite who vote for the Oscars. So Odin, I want to start with you and get your take on this. Do you think that, I know that you just said nobody's paying attention to Anthony Mackie, but do you think that there are people paying attention to this controversy?
Again, in a similar vein, I think that we, in our space definitely are. And because it is much a bigger part of the culture with the president of the United States signing executive orders, and there's a lot of people that are fans of his that are following it, I do think that it has a little bit more, I think a lot more people know about this than they do about the whole Anthony Mackie thing. I think that this is getting a lot more attention, not to mention, of course, the Oscars, not that they have a lot of eyeballs on them anyway. I think that Trump has been kind of, I think that they should probably thank Trump in their acceptance speeches of saying, thank you for helping us get actually, some attention this year for talking about this particular issue. But the bigger issue that I have is that you keep referring to this guy as her and she, because this guy is a dude. No matter what he does to his body, he cannot change that biological fact. And I think that if the person who uncovered this stuff about him was actually being honest, the breaking story would be, oh, it turns out trans person still is a man.
That's one way of looking at it.
It's a fact.
Brian, I want to read you a tweet that got a lot of attention from this actress. And it's about George Floyd. And it basically says, I really think very few people ever cared about George Floyd, a drug-addicted swindler, but his death was served to once again demonstrate that there are people who will still consider black people to be monkeys without rights and consider policemen to be assassins. They're all wrong. And a lot of people are pointing at this as an example of the actor-actress being racist, and they are up in arms about it. I don't think it was meant to say that they're all wrong about them not being monkeys. I think it was that, that it's about victimhood here. But they're certainly framing this as evidence that this performer is definitely a hardcore anti-black racist person. What's your take on that?
I mean, he sounds like he's pretty reasonable, because that's a pretty reasonable take. I don't know. I don't know how someone that can think that clearly can also, do the trans thing.
Chop their dick off.
Chop their dick off. Yeah, I'm trying to be like as politically correct as possible. But like, I don't know how you think.
Politically correct?
How can you think that clearly, but also have the chemical imbalance that makes you think you're a woman? I don't understand it. But yeah, he sounds totally based, because that is a based, logical, reasonable take on the whole situation. And if that wasn't coming from someone who is clearly has a brain disorder, I would probably tend to agree with him. Actually, it's scaring me a little bit that I agree with someone that has a brain disorder. That's all I'm saying.
I don't know. Can you reread that one more time? Because it didn't quite sound like. That's the thing. It is very twisted in how it's written. I'm still.
Well, it is translated from Spanish. So it basically says, I really think that very few people ever cared about George Floyd, a drug addict swindler, but his death has served to once again demonstrate that there are people who still consider black people to be monkeys without rights and consider policemen to be assassins. They're all wrong.
So the people who think that about black people and police officers are wrong. That's what the statement is saying.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think it's kind of more of a down the middle, because the rest of their statements are pretty fucking wackadoo. Like motherfuckers, Hitler might have been right.
But
That's what they're saying, not me.
Can I just translate for
Just to
you?
be clear, that is his opinion, not Tom's
Exactly.
opinion.
Yes, I just want to be clear on this.
Yeah.
Yes.
Jesus.
Kanye just entered the live stream.
That's about to get
ladies and
clipped
gentlemen.
hard.
Real quick, Pro, I'll let you clarify that in a second, but I want to ask you, so in addition to all this Islamophobic and reportedly racist comments, this performer actually had a lot of criticism for the quote-unquote woke Oscars, where they tweeted, more and more the Oscars are looking like a ceremony for independent and protest films. I didn't know if I was watching an Afro-Korean festival, a Black Lives Matter demonstration, or the 8M. Apart from that, an ugly, ugly gala. So she's even criticizing the institution that is now trying to prop her up and celebrate her. What's your take on this?
My take on this is that Hollywood thought they had another Dylan Mulvaney, and they accidentally picked up a Caitlyn Jenner. And now they're all they're furious about it, and they've Bud Lighted the Oscars over this. They've Bud Lighted awards ceremonies over this. Poor Cynthia Erivo went as cuckoo as you can do, and it still wasn't enough. Imagine being Cynthia Erivo, and a balloon at this point is your biggest enemy. It might carry you and Ariana away. Nobody can tell what it is you're up to, and yet still you're not woke enough. And they brought in a Caitlyn Jenner 2.0 rather than a Dylan Mulvaney. It is a nightmare for the Oscars, and they deserve every single second of it. I can't wait to watch it. I don't think the average person knows this is happening yet, but I can't wait in case it all explodes on them the night of, because then it will be all people can talk about the next day, and it will not be because we're all stunned by the stunning and brave celebrities of Hollywood, Hollyweird, but rather it will be because we're looking at this like Selena all over again. The children.
Yeah. Alex.
Yes.
One of the more base things that this performer said is that they said, I don't like social media teams. And basically they're blaming social media teams for creating all this controversy and buzz leading into award season and stuff like that, creating rivalries and conflicts where there are none naturally. And, we've seen how Hollywood uses social media teams for basically bad stuff, especially like you have Zack Snyder who astroturfed his way in with fake social media posts in order to get the Snyder cut of Justice League and stuff like that.
Hashtag release the Snyder Cut was all fake,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it was all fake. It was from a media firm that had lots of Twitter bots that created the perception that people out there wanted it.
That's hilarious.
But what's your take on this? Because again, this actor seems pretty based to me, calling out all of Hollywood's bad behavior.
I doubt it. It's selective. I doubt it, honestly. I mean, maybe a couple things. The broken clock's right twice a day, kind of a thing. You know what I mean? Maybe they have a few opinions that line up with quote unquote based or Republican values or right wing value, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't really matter. But I think it's probably just a limited amount of things. You start breaking into this person's character, and you're gonna find out the truth about it. And I just doubt it. I think it's probably just a very isolated, a couple of opinions about certain very particular things.
Well, Tom, the journalist who uncovered these tweets is very much a hardcore Islamist, shall we say. And the big thing that she noticed was that this actor was very critical about Islam, particularly in Spain, where they live. And so this seems to have kind of like bubbled up into a real hit piece to try to take down this performer because of their views about Islam more than anything else. Do you think that this is being kind of like manufactured to embarrass the Oscars and take down this actor before they can gain any real traction?
I mean, it could just be from this one individual doing this, but it seems like this individual had a problem with the Oscars until they were nominated for one. And now they're trying to backtrack. They're taking down their Twitter. They're dealing with all this nonsense. Look, it could be that. It could be a combination of a few things. And I had posited the idea that just maybe, because initially my thought was, this is going to be one of the wokest Oscars ever, and we're going to see the last or the final as I've been calling it, televised on the Oscars, because they are so disconnected from America right now that they went out of their way to nominate a movie that even the wokest of woke in Hollywood are going, I'm glad to see you guys nominate a trans actor for actress, but not sure this is the right movie for that. Because, I mean, look, it's made, like I was joking in the beginning, but it's true. It's a French film about a drug cartel leader, right? And let's just be clear about this. This person is not a good person, but this movie is basically glorifying them. So you have all sorts of politics going into this thing on top of the trans thing. And to them, I could see them going, this is perfectly timed. We have a movie that has a trans person about somebody from a place that people are being deported to. And so we can sit up there and we can virtue signal all night long on top of the fires and blame global warming, so they can have a trifecta all night of going after Trump endlessly. But what has happened? He won in a landslide. There's been a shift in every pretty much area otherwise. Right, DEI programs are being shut down almost all across the board. And all of a sudden you're stuck with this situation where you have a movie that is kind of an embarrassment. Because let's be real. Let's be real honest about this. If this was any other year other than the last few years, this movie would have been nominated and won all the Razzie Awards for how fucking cringe it is. Because it completely misses the mark. It almost reminds me of The Help. Because it was like when Hollywood thought they were getting ahead of the curve, thinking, look, we're virtue signaling and look how good we are. It's like, you do realize how much The Help is just basically white guilt, the movie, right? Like, this movie is just wretched, really, when it boils down to it. If you rewatch it now, it is cringe as fuck, I bet. I haven't watched it in years. But that's what it kind of feels like, again, is they're standing on this as a virtue signal. And now I think they've realized that the tides have changed, and there's only one way of getting out of this. Because you can't leave the person nominated and not let them win now, right? So what's the only other way you can get out of this? Have them disqualified, so then you can take the burden off of your shoulders. So then no longer is it a problem. She's disqualified. The movie can somehow be disqualified or disregarded then, because the big deal here from day one, what has been the headlines? Amelia Perez nominated for 13 Oscars, more Oscars than any other foreign language film ever in history, because I got to add that little asterisk there. And the big news has been first trans actress nominated for Best Actress. And I'm sitting here going, does that mean Linda Hunt has to give her Best Actress award back for playing a dude now? Because none of this makes any friggin' sense. Because these are the same people who a couple years ago were trying to argue maybe we should just take the sexes out of the awards and just have the best award for acting, period. And I'm like, okay, let's open that can of worms. Why don't we? So hopefully this closes that can of worms this year, and they finally realize how stupid this is through using this. Whatever. This is Hollywood's typical bullcrap, right? They never actually address or attack the actual problem. They dance around it and try and pass the buck. Right, like much like Vince Vaughn's thing that he was talking about on Hot Ones, where he said that's the problem with producers nowadays, and that's why they hide behind these IPs, because when it's all said and done and everything fails, they can say, well, you can't blame me because I used IP and I did this. It's everybody else's fault. And I think that might be part of this, though, Matt, you could be right. This could just be a direct attack from that individual over those specific comments. But there's more than enough comments here and other things that this person has said and attacked the Oscars and other individuals, I guess, which is actually a big no-no for Oscar rules. I don't know if you're aware of that or know anything about that, but yeah, that might be what they hang this whole thing on, is what I'm thinking.